Does your relationship with money suck? Did you know money is a relationship? How do you think about money? How does money treat you? Do you treat it well? In this episode, you're going to learn about how money is an actual relationship. And if you treat it well, it's probably going to come back to you, which is what you actually want. And if you're needy for it, why would it ever want to be around you? You'd never want to be around a needy friend, right? You can learn about that on this episode.
Today, the alternative intro to that was Todd telling you all the ways that poor people think. kidding.
Yes. Do you have a poor person pattern and you don't know it?
But really,
possibility.
There are patterns that you've noticed.
Yes.
Okay.
So one of the things that I talk about a lot that usually opens quite a few conversations is when I refer to money as a relationship.
Okay.
And most people don't see it that way. They've never thought about money in that way. They just think, well, there's usually two outlooks to money. It's evil, the root of all evil, which is ridiculous. It's not. The love of money can be, but money is just money, and then it's going to make you more of who you already are. So if you're evil, you're going to be evil, and if you're great, you're going to give more. So it's just a magnifying glass. So it's either evil, and they have negative thoughts and feelings towards it or trauma towards it, or two, they think it's a tool and or are positive about it. That's pretty much the two, and that's about it. And the patterns that I see is the people who have a lot of it always seem to think of money as a relationship that they are treating back and forth or interacting with back and forth. Hey, how am I treating this thing? Am I being respectful of it? Am I being a good steward of it? Am I respecting it? Versus having a negative connotation towards it or a trauma towards it and almost being afraid of it or potentially being afraid of it. And their biggest worry is actually getting more without even recognizing it, because if you're not comfortable around it or comfortable with it, why would you want something more of something that you're not comfortable with? So you're actually hoping for the opposite.
So you said that commonly people who have a lot of money think more positively about it or have understand that there's a relationship there. Do you think there's an exception? This is a silly question maybe, to people who were born into money.
People who were born into money.
Yeah. So their money was just given to them versus somebody who worked to earn it.
They might treat it differently.
Yeah.
But they're still taught about it because they're still around it.
Okay. Because I understand, I feel like you said, they're still around it and they might understand better. Like they might have a better abundance mindset, but at the same time, they might not treat it well, like you said. Like they might, because they have an abundance of it, not worry about it in the same way that other people do. So they're not worried about getting more of it because they have so much of it, but also they might not treat it well. So I didn't know if that was like a category you've witnessed.
You know what's interesting about that? When I sit down and I think about who has all the money, I'm trying to think of anybody that had it growing up. And everybody in my circle and everybody that I interact with and everybody that I'm close with, all the rich people, all the people you would consider wealthy, all the people that you consider, winning and doing extraordinarily well, all came from not.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's a coincidence that age or circle, and B, that you associate yourself with those people because you had a similar upbringing. I think that also, I don't think that a lot of, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that a lot of people who are born into money or had a rich upbringing, they are usually entrepreneurs or have any sort of ventures like you do.
Yeah, it all depends on the teachings inside the household. It's all there's the stability within the household.
Yeah.
Right? So whether you're born with money or not, you have the ability to have a stable upbringing.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you have a stable upbringing, you have the ability to make different decisions from someone who is in a survivability mode every single day, whether it be from lack of money, lack of support, lack of leadership, and lack of stable home, right? So their priority is different by the time it comes time to start earning money, thinking about money, interacting with money, and treating it. Because of that lack of stability, you're going to show trauma through your relationships, through your self-talk, your self-think, your self-confidence, your self-esteem. All of these things are affected by, your upbringing, right? It's no different with money. I think that's the thing that when I'm working with people that I realize the most. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to sit down with people and I like to tell them, All I want you to do is write down the first 10 things that come to mind when you think about money. And I'll ask them up front, do you think you're negative towards money or do you think you're positive towards money? And what does everybody say?
Everybody wants to say positive.
Everybody says positive, or a huge majority, like a very high percentage say like, yes, I'm definitely positive towards money. And then it's funny, if you have them write the first 10 things that they think about money, 7 or 8 of those comments are typically either neutral or negative negative leaning. And then you go, why is that? So like a little activity that you can do here is think about money. Just sit down and be totally neutral and just think to yourself, what do I think about money? What does money make me feel? And actually write it out. Write the first 10, 12, 14 things that come to mind.
Can you give examples of the two sides? So like what you hear from both sides typically?
Yeah, absolutely. So which side do you want first?
Give us the bad side first.
The negative side?
Yeah.
Okay, so the negative side will continuously use words that have a meaning of lack behind them.
Okay.
Didn't have enough time. So what are some of the things? Okay, so I'm going to sit down. I'm going to think about money. I have to literally try to do this. I'm going to have to think about like specific examples because very money positive. So like I have to take myself to the other side. Like when I think about clients that we've worked with and people that we work with on a daily and weekly basis is, all right, sit down and think about money. Write the first 10 things that come to you. And usually there's going to be things that they're based around I'll be happy when.
Yeah.
Or it'll be enough when. Or if X, then Y. It's always based in it's not good enough now, but maybe it can be. Or it wasn't good enough then, I'm just trying to overcome that. I'm just trying to get to this next space. And it's usually coming from a space of not enough. But the problem with this is that if you're starting a relationship, right? Let's just transition it really quickly to like a relationship with a person. If you treat a boyfriend or girlfriend
like, oh, you're not enough now, but with some work we can maybe you'll be enough one day.
They're not going to come back.
No.
If you treat it as a project,
that's going to be a terrible relationship.
It's going to be terrible. But where's that? But are they actually not enough?
No.
Like is it actually their problem? No. It's actually coming from
They're
you.
enough from somebody. It's just not you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's actually coming from you. You're actually the problem. And
that's really hard to hear.
This is really difficult for a lot of people to hear because they go, well, I've had this problem, that problem. You don't understand my upbringing. You don't understand the situation that I've been through. That's fine. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. But I do know how relationships with money works. And I do know that if you treat something correctly, it'll come back to you. So if you start treating money poorly, if you start being a poor steward of it, where's it going to go? It's going to go to somebody else.
It's not coming back to you. Yeah, it's going to go and it's not going to come back.
Just like if you treat a relationship poorly, if you treat them poorly, where are they going to go?
Away.
To
somebody else.
To someone else.
We're not condoning cheating here.
Yeah.
No, I didn't want to say to someone else because that makes it sound like...
but they're going to leave you.
They're going to leave. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to leave. So if you start thinking about your money in this way, you can start hearing different languages. So on the negative side, like to go back to your original question, can you give it some examples? It's usually coming from a place of lack. So you have to look for those specific words. You have to look for those words of, if, when, not enough, like all of those types.
Yeah.
Right?
Or fear.
That's the other big one.
Yeah.
Is that they're just, if you're traumatized coming from money.
Yeah.
Or not coming from money, either or, right? If you're traumatized with money around, right? You're starting to recognize that money doesn't just come to you for no reason.
Yeah.
Money comes to you because of the actions that you take. It's literally just, money is just a scorecard for the summation of the actions that you've taken up to that point. That's it. It's your ability to rise above fear on a daily basis. That's it. It's a representation of that. So on the opposite side, when I think about the money positive people, I think about the people with a lot of money. It's very interesting that the way that they talk about it. It's very, if I do this, this will happen. Not if the money gets to a certain point,
things
I'll feel
aren't happening
this.
To them. They are taking the action.
They're the driver. They're on the opposite side of it. So if the negative person is thinking from trauma and thinking from, if this would happen, I would feel this. The positive person is going, if I do this, I will feel this. They understand that they are the value.
Yeah.
They understand that the money is just a tool or a representation or a scorecard piece, and they have the ability to move it whatever way that they want and have an expectation or a forecast for what will happen with it. So therefore, they become in control. So in the relationship, it's very give and take, right? So in a good positive relationship, what happens? There's some predictability, right? There's some rhythm. There's some positivity. There's some support.
Great habits.
There's good habits.
Yeah.
So just like that with money, if you put your money into assets and you treat it well, it wants to come back to you.
Yeah.
Just like a good relationship. If I pour positive things into you, you're probably going to want to come back.
Yeah.
If you can follow the golden rule of make people feel better when they're around you than when they're not, what do? They want to be around you. They come back. So you have to start treating your money like that.
I think that says a lot about people who are scared of like losing their money and they hold on to a ton of it. So they just like grab it all and hold on to it.
We can correlate.
Yeah.
We can correlate any relationship problem with money, which is funny.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that.
That's like an anxious attachment style. Like,
yeah. It's
psychology.
Psychology. Yeah. It's not actually, it's not a relationship at that point. It's controlling, or it's dependency.
Yeah, that's anxious attachment dependency. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not codependent because the money's not dependent on you. It's just dependency.
Right. Yeah. Very good. So yeah, I didn't want to mess that up. That was important. Like, yeah, that was actual dependency that you have. So that could fall under the category of needy.
And that's like that. I would imagine brings you so much anxiety. That's probably so crippling to a person to feel that way about money.
Oh, to have if your mental and your emotion goes as your money goes, you're in a lot of trouble.
Like you're just constantly on this roller coaster of fear and excitement and fear and
you're going to be on, and the days that you do good, you're great.
Yeah.
And the days that you do bad and you don't have the result that you want, like everybody else around you feels it.
Yeah.
Which in turn, what ends up happening is those people leave because they don't want to ride that roller coaster with you anymore. It takes a very special person to want to be around that all the time, that very big up and down, high peaks, high valleys.
And then you ruin your real relationships.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it's all correlated. That's what people don't see. Why is finance listed as a top reason for divorce and 70 or 80% of divorces? Like, it's a huge number.
Yeah.
It's because people can't get their money relationship right. So therefore they treat their real relationships poorly. They think they're at the mercy. They think it would be solved if they just had more money, but it's really how they're acting and thinking. So if you want to have a good money relationship, you have to think differently up front. And then you can start categorizing the problems that you have. So like you said, I'm going to be dependent upon money and ride the wave of it, as opposed to feeling like that could be categorized under needy. Okay.
Yeah.
So have you ever had a needy friend?
Yes.
Have you ever wanted to be around that needy friend?
No.
So why would the money want to be around you?
Exactly.
Becomes the question. So if you can start categorizing the way that you're thinking, feeling, and treating money, you're going to start to see improvements really, really quickly. If you can knock out one or two, just start with one. Hey, I'm a little needy towards money. I feel like my problems would be solved if I just had it. It's really not how it works. Yeah. And nobody without money believes that sentence. I know that because I didn't. And everybody I've talked to doesn't believe that sentence until they get money. And then they realize that all they did was arrive to their problem in a Bentley versus a Honda.
Yeah.
That's it. And they still have to solve that inner work. They have to do that deep work inside of them to have the better result that they're actually looking for that has longevity behind it.
Don't get us wrong. We're not sitting here saying that having money's not good or like great. That's not the point we're making, because I feel like a lot of the time when you say this, you said that so many times, you arrive to the problem in a Bentley. Yeah. People are like, okay, says the rich person. Like, that's what everybody always says.
Yeah.
But that's not the point you're making here. The point is that no matter where you are, no matter how much money you have, you're still going to have these inner problems.
Yep.
And when you get more money, you just put a magnifying glass on those problems.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you are anxious about money now, imagine how you're going to feel when you have more money.
So let's take you into consideration. Let's think about you. A couple of years ago, you were broke, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you had nothing. So now that you have a bunch of money, a substantial amount of money,
yeah,
like you've done very well, especially over the past 24 months. Has that money solved a single internal problem that you've ever had?
No, not one.
Think about it for a second. Like not a single one, right?
No, it hasn't.
Has it magnified any of them?
Yes, plenty of them.
Yeah, because you went through an
I
anxiety
went through a
sprint.
phase where I was riding those waves where it was like, oh, I had a really good few months. I'm feeling great. I'm spending a ton of money, like enjoying my life. And then you have your down months because like as a photographer, like winter's not as busy. You hit that dip and you hit like a depressive state and you're like, I'm failing and it's crippling. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you started having the money. A dangerous thing that can happen is you start having the money reflect and represent your value.
Yes.
So you went through that.
Yeah.
So how do you solve that?
Granted,
With more money.
I'm only 21, so I'm really lucky that I'm going through this now because I'm sure people deal with this later, and it's probably something that you probably still deal with it to a degree, like having that you have a bad money day, it kind of dips your mood a little.
Yeah, you can have. It's different though.
Yeah.
It's not a representation of my value anymore.
Yeah.
What it is it's a representation and scorecard of how well I'm treating it. So if I have, let's say I have a down month, right? Or down week or down quarter, whatever it is, right? And I'm looking at it, I'm not liking the trend of it. I can look at the previous actions and look for triggers that are now representing in a poorer outcome. So maybe I'm spending more on whatever, right? Liability, spending here, spending there on things that don't have an actual forecast to return to me.
Yeah.
Maybe I got out of rhythm somewhere, or maybe I made a larger investment somewhere and it's not paying off the way that I wanted it to quite yet, but I can still see a future in which it does. And I've done everything right and it's okay. And I can hold through that. But notice how none of that was like, oh, I'm not good at this.
Yeah.
I'm not worth it.
Failing.
Or man, I'm a failure. Or like, I don't have those mental struggles anymore.
Yeah.
One, I have great people around me. So like, it's very easy to reach out to someone now and go like, what do you think about this? Have you ever dealt with this? I had one recently. Full transparency, I'll share it. I had one, everything going really well financially, like more money than ever. Like this is all money related. I'm just going to use money examples. More money than ever, cash flow strong, like everything positive that you think, like equity is growing, like properties in rhythm, portfolio's good, multiple businesses good, royalties good, like everything's set up. But something felt like it was off. And it's like, well, why is that? Like, why do I feel like I don't, like everything is good, everything's in good shape, but for some reason I don't see the result in this area that I projected we would be seeing by now. Like, why am I feeling like that? I think that feeling happens to people a lot, and they kind of think, or again, experience with working people, they usually internalize it, and they usually go, I must be doing something wrong. That's not the case. Like, you don't grow linear.
Yeah.
So you're going to have your ups and downs. You just want to look at your trends. So if you have a heavy expense month, you might feel like that, but all the expenses went to the right cause.
Yeah.
My example might be project management, like an investment into a building in like property tax season. So like, you're going to have $100K expense month if you own enough property and it's property tax season. So like, I'm doing everything right, but that doesn't look right or feel right. You have to be able to look at the context. You have to be able to look back at the bed of evidence and proof, and then you can project forward from there. And that's all in relationships too. So if somebody starts treating me different, I can look back and go, did I start acting differently without recognizing it? And if I did, you can correct it.
Yeah. I definitely think that I'm getting better about it. I can tell that I'm getting better about being like dependent on money. Like my mood doesn't change as much with it because, and like maybe this is a little bit controversial, maybe you don't agree, but I can now step away from working for like a week to go on a trip and I don't feel like I'm suffocating the whole time. I'm scared to spend money, or I'm scared to like step away from my business. That was something that I dealt with when I first started the business really bad, was like, I was like, if I step away and I'm not making money every second of every day, I would think that my value was going down. Like I wasn't like, I would feel like bad about myself. But now I understand, I step away and I spend money and I understand that it's a value trade. Like I'm trading the money that I made for like these experiences that I'm having. And I know that I can go back and make more money.
Yeah.
Like I'm confident. I think I'm just more confident in myself now. I'm confident in my abilities and my skill sets that I can just go back and make more money.
So what you've done is you've built what I call equity in yourself.
Okay.
And what that means is you can interchange the word equity for trust and trust for confidence.
Yeah.
So those three words together, you have an understanding that is bananas that you can understand this at 21. It's crazy. Is that you're the value. Most people are at the mercy of their relationship, whether it be with another person and or money, their job. They feel at the mercy of everything. They feel like if they're going through the day, they are reacting to everything. They are not proactive to anything, and they can't predict anything in their day.
Yeah.
You've gotten to a point, again, at the age of 21, which is bananas, that you have the ability to understand that you are the responsible party that is directing the capital in a specific way. You can understand upfront if you plan on that money to come back or not. And it can come back in different ways. It doesn't have to come back as just $1. It can come back as an experience. You're a big traveler for a reason.
Yeah.
So you know that if you're trading for an experience, that it motivates you and pushes you and builds momentum in you to create more capital over here through the thing that you enjoy doing and getting better at and mastering.
Yeah.
So that's a trade. For you to understand that at 21 is insane. Like, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
It's just not a thing.
Well, because my solution initially was I'm traveling so much and I just stopped traveling because I'm stressed about money. And then I realized that that's actually not true at all. I stopped traveling for the last 3 months, and you would think because I'm home I'd be making more money, but actually I made more money in the last 2 weeks since I planned a trip. I booked a flight, and I got excited and motivated again to work again, and I was like, okay, so I can't just sit at home and work. Like,
yeah, it excites you.
Yeah. So I'm noticing the patterns in myself.
You're going to be more creative.
Yeah.
You're going to be sharper. You're going to do the things. It's going to force you into it keeps you in a creative mode.
Yeah.
You're not stagnant. When you sit stagnant, you lose that creativity. You don't have that force. You don't have that push. You don't have that pull. Those are the things that you want. So for you to understand that at 21 is awesome, because you're starting to understand that if I send money out, I have the ability to recreate it over here even larger. And if I send it out in the right way, it'll excite me to want to do this thing, and it'll actually protect me even further. Because what you end up doing is you'll end up adding assets into that. Well, I'll have my travel, my return on enjoyment, if you will. And then over here, well, if I want to do that more but not require this quite the same way, I can put something in, I can put an asset in the middle, and now you're starting to think about that relationship with money. Like, it goes out, it comes back because I'm the value, and it trusts me to be able to send it back out in a way that's going to be respected. So you're becoming what's called a good steward.
So back to the point that we were making for the whole video, this whole episode, what would you say would be your, like, if somebody has a bad relationship with money, if they're realizing this, say they sat down and they wrote a list of, what they associate money with, what would you say the first thing they should do is to, like, push themselves in the right direction? What are some steps they can take?
The first thing you should do is, if you're starting to recognize that you have a negative money mentality, is give yourself grace.
Okay.
And understand that it's okay, that you have the ability to change it, because you are the one who actually has the honor of controlling it. People's stress, anxiety, frustration, anger, sadness, everything, right? When they have a problem, what they perceive as a problem is really their want of control. I want you to think of a single problem that you have or have had that wasn't solved with some bit of control. Mostly every single one of them, right?
Yeah.
I have difficulty thinking of one that's not. If I had control over this situation, I wouldn't feel like this. The nice part about money is you get to have control over the situation.
In almost every single situation, you have control.
Yeah. If you take ownership of that and understand, you can give yourself some grace. I haven't treated money well up to this point, but from this day forth, I can start making better money decisions. And that's when you can sit down and reflect on your past 30 days. And you can go through a bank statement and go, all of this money left. It went to Burger King. I love Burger King, by the way. It's amazing. It's the greatest. It's the greatest fast food on the planet. This one went to Burger King. This one went to...
I don't stand by that statement. Just want to make that clear to the audience.
This one went to some liability. This one went to a car payment. This one went to going out. This one went to drinks. This one went to tobacco. This one went to alcohol. Like, whatever it is, right? When you start looking at that, you can add it up and you can go, I disrespected money to the tune of $1,100 last month.
I also think that when you recognize that you're disrespecting your money, there's a correlation if you, like, can see it, you're disrespecting your time, because you're like, I spent X many hours working just to spend the money that I made on this.
Yep. Well, he who lacks purpose seeks pleasure.
And I'm sure that could really take you down the rabbit hole.
The he who
lacks purpose seeks pleasure.
Yeah, the he who lacks purpose.
Yeah,
seeks
because
pleasure.
I could go so much deeper to just like your happiness in life. Like that's a whole.
Think of the person who constantly seeks pleasure, just for like a moment. Think maybe, you don't have to mention names, but you can think about maybe people in your life, if you've ever been there.
I could list some names.
Okay, so anybody, well, please, just list them across the bottom of the screen right now. That'd be great. So if you are constantly seeking pleasure, why?
Because you don't feel fulfilled.
You're probably overcoming something. You're probably numbing something.
Yeah. You just don't want to. You're probably pretty miserable. Like you're not. Your life, you're not happy with it to some degree.
The people that I know that are the happiest have a defined purpose that they are actively working towards. Yeah, they might have a lot of pleasure and entertainment and excitement in their life because they're earning a lot, but really their fulfillment comes from seeking their purpose or activating their purpose or actively working towards and moving closer to fulfilling their purpose.
At the end of the day, to some degree, they are making other people's lives better, and they're fulfilled by it.
Their pleasure is created through helping or satisfying their purpose as a reward. So what I mean by that, car guy, right? Mm-hmm. So I've been celebrating Dustin because he just bought $500,000 765 LT McLaren. It's insane. It's bananas. Six spec. Like, I'm so excited for it. Like, Denise even asked me, she's like, I've never seen someone so excited for someone else. That's because I've watched him work towards and through a purpose and be able to put words in a system to rewarding himself. Like, that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Like that just builds momentum for a positive relationship with money and what he's doing, like through and through. Like maybe he doesn't even understand the level of like excitement that I have for that because of what it's actually doing.
Yeah.
Most people don't see that. Most people, if they're trying to, drink, smoke, party, this, that, like life's about having a good time. What are you trying to escape? What are you escaping? Why can't your work or your purpose or your progress be fulfilling? Why can't that be something that is exciting? Why can't that be something that is enjoyable? Because a lot of times they don't usually correlate together. The people that I see, quote unquote, having the best time aren't having the best time internally.
Yeah.
They're just having it externally. So they're overcoming something. So usually that shows up in their money relationship, in their words, and you start to see underlying issues. So if you're somebody that has never thought of money as a relationship, if you had to rank your relationship with it now that you're aware of this, how would you feel about it? How would you go, you know what, I've been doing a good job of treating it. I was working with somebody recently, and I asked him, what's the most important thing? What's the most important thing in your life? And he said, my marriage. And I said, would your wife agree with you?
Ooh.
And he was honest. And he said, I don't treat it like it's the most important thing in my life.
That's good. That deserves like a church pastor. That's good. Like that was good.
Yeah. So why is that? Like, why can we have something that we know is important to us, but we don't treat it as it is or treat it as such? Think of money that way. If you want so much of it, if you're constantly thinking about it, if you're praying for it and or praying against it, whatever it is, right?
Why do you treat it so poorly?
Why do you treat it so poorly?
Yeah. That's really good. Like people could apply that to not even just money at this point, so many different areas of their lives. But money, like here.
There's a reason in our one-on-one client base, 90% of the time,
you're not even talking about money 90%
no,
of the time.
No.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
You're like a therapist some of the time.
It's
like,
coming. Like we're going to focus on your marriage.
Yeah.
And we're going to focus on your deep inner work. And we're going to focus on how you're treating yourself. And we're going to focus on how your perspective is. And we're going to focus on the longevity of your vision and the clarity of it. Because all of these things is what creates the potential for you to have a good money relationship. That way money comes back to you.
Yeah.
Because I could do all sorts of tactics and processes and teach you little things that will instantly get you returns on your money.
You could watch 1,000,001 YouTube videos on how to make money, but at the end of the day, it's not gonna.
And you're not going to have any more.
Yeah.
It's all going to go away. Why is it all going away? There is something within you. It only goes as you go. I don't know anybody with a bunch of money that has a bad internal relationship with themselves with money.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not out there. Someone's going to like be the...
They're going to be like, oh, what about this guy?
Here's the exception to this one rule.
Typically, you're not the exception. So don't think you're the exception here.
Yeah, you want to be the rule.
Yeah.
You want to be the rule.
Yeah. So maybe start with how's your relationship with yourself? How's your relationship with your money?
Mm-hmm.
How's your relationship if you're in a marriage with your marriage or with your significant other?
Let's use you as an example again.
Always me.
Yeah, you're always the guinea pig.
Why can't we use you this time? Just kidding. What's your question?
If you want to, we can. We can do both.
Let's make this about me. I'm kidding.
I'll put myself on the slab. Let's think about you. Over the course of the past 18 months, what inner work have you done?
Well, we just talked about some of it. I've gotten a lot more confident in my value.
I feel like it's a lot.
Yeah,
right?
I've done quite a bit, actually.
I
moved into my own house. I bought my own house. That was crazy. I talk about it like every day, how much living alone has changed my life.
Yeah.
Because I've had so much time with myself.
Right.
Like I am at peace living with like by myself. Last 2 weeks ago, I stayed in my house for 3 days without leaving besides going to the gym or interacting with other people. Like I didn't need to be distracted by other people or other things.
Yeah. If you've ever listened to this podcast before, 3 days is basically 90 years for her. Like that's, how many flights did you take last year?
I was out of the state for 96 days last year.
Yeah. So
I don't know how many flights, but
so like sitting still for 3 days straight is, yeah.
Yeah.
So you've, in the past 12 to 18 months especially, you've done a lot of deep inner work.
Yeah.
Now, what has resulted from that deep inner work and learning more about you and becoming comfortable with you and understanding how you best work and best learn, which is really what should be taught in school, is how you best learn, not what to learn.
Yeah.
So you learning how you best learn has resulted in what in your finances, in your money relationship?
I have my whole life policy now. Like I have it in a house, a whole life policy, and I made the most money I've made last year.
And you have the most savings that you've ever had.
Yeah.
Like across the board.
Oh yeah.
Like liquid,
overall.
like everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that a coincidence?
No, not at all. Not in the slightest bit. You could look at it from the outside and be like, oh, it's just a coincidence. You know, like she works hard, like she has this job, and like or like people will be like, it's a luck, but it's not.
Yeah.
If you were to give me the same exact circumstances, but with my mindset that I had, like, say 3 years ago, I wouldn't have what I have right now.
I find it funny that the more inner work that one does, the luckier they get.
This is true.
It is very interesting to me that we have a 100% increase in earned income, whether it be through assets or actual earning the income with our one-on-one clients.
But they're so lucky.
Why is 100% of them lucky? Literally 100%.
Anytime something good happens to you on social media, or like you like say, oh, I had this happen, or
Must
like,
be nice.
It's always, you're so lucky. You're so lucky.
Yeah. I think the greatest one is Kevin McCullough. He always uses the example of like, you got great kids. You guys are so lucky. You know how much work was put into raising kids the right way.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, your kid turned out great. You're so lucky.
Yeah, the more inner work that you do, the more inner work that you reflect on with your relationship with yourself and with money, it is funny how money starts to come back and you start to have more of it. You start to make different decisions. You start to shift the paradigm that you're in, that you move from basically a victim mentality or an unawareness paradigm to an awareness paradigm where you have the ability to make different decisions. You have the ability to say no to something. You have the ability to tell no to somebody because you have a goal to work towards. Hey, you want to go out tonight? I actually can't. I'm actually working towards this goal. They make fun of you. You now know who to cut out of your life. Like, you see these compounding positive effects so quickly because you started doing the deep internal work.
Wow, this episode kind of really took a turn from what we started with.
No, it's all a relationship of money.
Yeah, it is, but it's just it's way more than if, like, at face value. If you were to look at how we started, where we ended up.
Yeah, you got to stick with the episodes.
Yeah,
that's why I like long form stuff.
Yeah,
it keeps getting better and better, and you get more and more refined. And then people like, I need a TikTok. I need this explained in 20 seconds. Well, that's why your relationship sucks, because everything has to happen in 20 seconds. When I think about my turning point a decade ago, 10, 11 years ago.
You're old. I forgot. Every time you say something like that, I'm like, dang, I was 11 years old a decade ago.
Think about when I was starting my first business, you were 10.
Yep.
So like when I was really getting going, you were like 9, 10. That is crazy to think about. Thanks for that. When I think about that, when I started, I was deeply unhappy.
Yeah.
Not unhappy with myself in a sense of like I wasn't good enough, but deeply unhappy in the sense of I thought everything happened to me. I was trying to react to everything. I told the story earlier today and yesterday. Actually, somebody brought it up because they were like, "Is this? Do you think this thing is important?" Yes, I think that thing is important, but not for the reasons that you think. The reason something might be important is because you don't understand that you can't connect the dots forward. You don't know how you're going to use something. So if you make sure that you're present in the moment and learn the best that you can with whatever you're going through, you're going to be able to use that in the future. It's going to become an asset for you in the future. So what I was unhappy about was that I was on the phones.
Yeah.
I was in cold call centers and phone centers, and and then I would go to apply somewhere else, and what would happen is I would get hired by a call center because that's where I had experience. And then you start going down this path of like, I keep getting hired to do the thing that I hate. Today, being on the phones pays me millions of dollars.
Yeah.
I wouldn't trade that for anything because now I can connect the dots backwards and be like, oh, that's where I actually honed my skills and learned about how to have a value built in myself or a skill set built in myself.
Yeah, not only that, but you were doing sales at one point and you...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you didn't like it. You hated it.
No, I hated it.
Yeah, but now that's what you do.
Now I look forward to it.
Yeah.
I want to have the call. I want to have the conversation.
Yeah.
Because that's the opportunity for me to help. And that goes back to deep inner work relationship, having a good relationship with myself, having a good relationship with money. Because let's say I don't have a good relationship with money, but I'm teaching people about it. Okay? Let's just say that's a scenario. If I don't have a good relationship with money and I'm talking to somebody else about it, that'll show through. That'll show through because I'll be trying to solve my short-term money problems with someone else's, which is bad for them in the long run. That's why it's so important that if you're going to work with somebody, you better know them. You better know their inner workings. You better know their money relationship. You better know their inner relationship. Because if you're getting a lot of tactics and a lot of process, you're behind.
Yeah.
You're going to recognize that you're actually solving their money problem. So if you get a lot of the celebration, the loud marketer speak, the exciting this, exciting that, and it's just nothing but pleasure, 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 ask them where the deep work is happening. Hey, where does the deep work happen in all of this? Well, what do you mean? If you get a what do you mean? Red flag. You want to make sure that your relationship with yourself, your relationship with your money is all in tune, all in line, and you're understanding that you're the value, you control where the money goes, the money will come back to you when you treat it well and you become a good steward.
It is all connected.
It's all connected. It'll go as you go.
Yeah. So leave the people with like 2 things to do. What are 2 things they can start to practice to get better?
I think the first thing you do is you sit down and you physically write down, don't type it, like actually write something on paper. It's okay. It's different. Trust me. Sit down. The first 10 things that come to you about money and how you feel about money, write them down. That's step 1. Step 2 is improve on one of them. If you just improve on one of them, you're going to build a little bit of equity and a little bit of trust in yourself, and you're going to recognize that you can get better because if you improve just one of them, you will see a result.
Yeah.
You can't not, because you're one thing. Let's just say you're the one that you're trying to change is
Not enough.
not enough.
Yeah.
Right. Well, the next time you go to spend on something as pleasure, right? You're going to go,
Oh, that's why I don't have enough.
that's why I don't have enough.
Yeah.
That's all it takes. Just that one. If you just do that one, you're going to see an improvement, and you'll be blown away by how quickly that can compound into a positive result. And you're going to see a lot of really, really good changes that you can be excited about.
Perfect.
If you guys enjoyed this episode, if you had never thought about money as a relationship before, share this with somebody. And let's see if they think about money as a relationship, and you can see how positive they are with it, and or if they have underlying feelings that they need to do the deep work on to make the improvements that they want. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next episode.
Give them to me.
She gives them the spirit fingers.